The United States is using three major tactics to silently appropriate the wealth of other countries and plans to occupy all Earth's resources for itself. Only China has the ability to break through these three tactics one by one. The first tactic is dollar hegemony. Today, the status of the US dollar as a world currency is the result of hundreds of years of American management. In the later stages of World War II, the US made money from arms sales and demanded that other countries pay in gold. Later, through the value of the US dollar was linked to gold, establishing its monopoly position as an international universally recognized currency. The subsequent actions were even more outrageous. The Nixon administration announced the dissolution of the Bretton Woods system, removing the link between the US dollar and gold, and lifting the restrictions on US dollar issuance due to gold. This meant that the US could decide how much money to print based on its own interests. They can issue US dollars while, for example, buying products and labor from anywhere around the world. When these countries receive their hard-earned money, they find that at this point, the value of the US dollar has been depleted, turning into a bunch of worthless paper. Meanwhile, the US uses extremely low costs to make others' resources serve its needs. Besides dollar hegemony, another important tactic of the US is technological hegemony. Japan suffered at the hands of the US. In the last century, Japan's semiconductor industry was about to become #1 globally when the US immediately launched a series of sanctions against Japan. It obstructed Japanese product exports and required them to pay penalizing tariffs. These measures severely struck the development of Japanese semiconductor companies, causing the entire industry never to return to its peak in the 1980s. Immediately following this, with the rise of Chinese technological strength, the US turned its sights on us. The most typical example everyone knows is the sanctions imposed on Huawei in the communication and electronic equipment industries. The US suppression of Huawei began in 2003, from the earliest prohibition of Huawei's routing network equipment entering the US market to later restrictions on manufacturers exporting chips and various technology licenses to Huawei. Trying to hinder Huawei's technological development, you could say, has used every trick possible. The US's past sanctions on Japanese semiconductors and suppression of Huawei have given us an important warning. In the development of technology, if we want to counter the hegemonic means of the United States, we must not only put an effort to conduct research but also learn to use international rules and procedures to defend our high-quality achievements and maintain our long-term advantage. For example, in various industries, strive to become the leader in setting standards, and hold the power of industry development in your own hands. The third form of American hegemony is food hegemony. There are 4 major grain merchants in the world who control 80% of the world's food, with American companies occupying 3 of them. Many developing countries originally had their own agriculture, but the United States first sells them food at extremely low prices, tempting them to work for American industries and services. Since working is more profitable, who would still work hard to farm? And once their agriculture is abandoned, the United States will begin to arbitrarily raise prices. After all, food is the foundation of survival, and no matter how expensive it is, we must grit our teeth and pay. Developing countries contribute their labor to the industrial development of the United States, but the hard-earned money has to be handed over to the United States for its hard work in purchasing food. From the US dollar, which circulates worldwide, to controlling food in developing countries, and various monopoly regulations in the technology industry, these are all tools that the United States uses to consolidate its dominant position. In these fields we have been proactive and have already laid the groundwork to counteract US hegemony. We have greatly promoted digital currency to continuously elevate the international status of the RMB. Facing food monopoly, we have never relaxed our vigilance and always maintained the autonomy of agriculture. In the tech industry, we are further enhancing our hard power through continuous technological innovation. Many fields are already leading the world, and now there are many companies like Huawei and Xiaomi that, through reclaiming the right to define standards to build soft power, American tech hegemony's conspiracy will eventually collapse one day.